But I do know that it was later that year, of '74, when I got involved with the Shamrock Club and I started to hit Derry's Pub, which was the first bar. You know, I didn't spend much time at Jim Hegarty's, even though that was open at the time. But I did get to know Derry's place, and I'd spent time there. And at the time, I think Derry was just starting to explore bringing groups in from the East Coast, like Butch and Maeve and the Bards, and Mary Ellen Simmet was working with them to bring bands in occasionally. I don't know if anyone else was doing it at the time. And so I mean, that's probably where I was hanging out the most socially. And then Bernie and I were playing for the folk mass. Bernie and I were playing for the folk mass at the Joan of Arc Chapel. This probably started in our second year. And the priest that said the mass almost all the time was a priest named Father Mike McNulty. And so Father Mike and Bernie and I had a really good relationship. And then one day, I remember Mike gave Bernie and I a songbook, Clancy Brothers and Macomb songbook. And so Bernie and I used to sit and practice all this liturgical music, and then we had gotten to know John Maher through the Shamrock Club and we were participating in some of their activities, going to their meetings. And so we decided, I don't know how we decided this, but one night we decided we were going to start learning some Irish songs. And so we started learning a few Irish songs. The Orange and the Green was one, and My Black Velvet Band was another. And John played on his fiddle. There was a reel. I can't remember the name of the reel that he always used to play. We learned 4 or 5 songs. So we decided we were going to offer our services free of charge to the Shamrock Club and entertain at one of their monthly meetings at St. Rose of Lima Hall, which we did. And I don't think we were very good, but I think people enjoyed it because it was different, and we were singing old songs and probably songs they knew. So that was kind of the formation of Blarney, and I think that probably would have been in '74, if I'm not mistaken, because the band really started in '75, and it started with John and Bernie and I. And then I was living with Carl Grunwald on 30th in Michigan at the time, and I remember we used to practice in our apartment, and later on we used to practice in the law school. But then the next guy that joined was John Teston, and I was involved with campus ministry at the time in my early years in law school, and John's sister Mary was involved with campus ministry. So once we started talking about the band and this and that and the other thing, she says, I have a brother that plays in a polka band, he plays banjo, and I says, give me his name, I'll call him. So I called John, and so it was the 4 of us for a while, the first year, John, Bernie, and I. And the first thing we did officially was, I can't remember, we played a gig at the Mug Rack at Marquette, and then I know we did another gig for the, Al McGuire was involved with the parade at the time, and after the parade party, was it a pre-party or an after party? Anyway, we played for that, and a couple songs. Well, those are our first 2 gigs, and then so we started playing a little bit around town, and then, but by that time the band had discovered Nash's, because I was working for Clem Zablocki when I was in law school. And my office, his Clem's office, was on 13th and Lincoln, and Nash's was almost right across the street. So when that opened up, that kind of became the new place I hung out. So we started playing there, and the first gig Kevin played with us, I think, was at Nash's. And of course, we made Nash's our spiritual home. We ended up building a practice room down there, kept our files, our equipment, everything down there for many years. And that was the place, that was our default place to play. That was the place where we considered our home. And so that's kind of when the band got started. The band's name came from Bernie McCartan, And I remember we were having a practice at the law school, and we were talking about a name, and it was Bernie that came up with the name Blarney. That I do recall.